Pregame.tv, Steve Fezzik here with Brady, Kannon. Fire the Kannon plays. We're going to be talking about our favorite team. Okay, I grew up in Southern Ohio. Hear me roar, Bengals hosting the San Diego Chargers. So let's fade back to 1981, Brady. The Ice Bowl. I think 82. 82. Kenny Anderson, fine Bengal team. Isaac Curtis. Charlie Joyner. I think Joyner was still on the Bengals before he moved over to the Chargers. That was the Pete Johnson team that they kept doing the line plunge with Johnson in the Super Bowl. That didn't work out well in Detroit. But they poor San Diego, Kellen Winslow. He's in Miami. There's Kellen Winslow on the phone. They're like, I was so cold. Let me tell you, I was completely unable to play the next week. Weather's not going to be so bad here, like 30 degrees, maybe some snow showers. San Diego, they got a team. Do they belong in these playoffs?
I think they do. The fact that it came down to the wire and they were really so incredibly lucky there against the Kansas City Chiefs, second string, if you will.
Ryan Suckup.
Yeah. Oh boy. But everybody knows that they were supposed to win that game that day. The Chargers are a good team. Look at some of the wins they've had recently: over Denver, at Denver, over Kansas City, at Kansas City. Phillip Rivers is playing tremendous football this year. I'm glad that they did win that game because I think they deserved to win it. And hey, earlier in the day, the Dolphins and the Ravens lost, and here the Chargers are in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Dolphins is amazing. They kept it together as long as they did, frankly. So I can't fault the coaching job Philbin did, with them. But I do feel San Diego was the most deserving of all those teams to get in. They got lucky at the end, but as far as power rating wise, I pretty much have them above. They in Pittsburgh actually, where I have them above, the Miami and Baltimore end of the year.
Yep. I make Pittsburgh close to even with Miami and Baltimore, if not a little above, but I definitely have the Chargers above. And what I'm thinking, Steve, is maybe there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. The penalty that was discovered later about the formation that the Chargers had on the line for the field goal, I think that was shoved under the rug a little bit, as a little bit of karma for Mike Tomlin not allowing his team to get into the playoffs after he was stepping out on the field against Baltimore. Is it possible?
It certainly makes sense. The flip side is, too, if the yellow canary goes flying and they call that, then everyone comes back and says, there was that game that was decided earlier in the year where they called this, and they said it didn't impact the play, the new rule. Do you really have to
And the fact of the matter is the guy missed the field goal.
Yeah.
How the Chargers were lined up didn't matter whether he was going to shoot that
through
thing.
the line and they put him under duress and throw the flag.
No, there was no pressure. He went up and missed it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. It's just like in college basketball. People say, oh, if it's a foul 5 minutes into the game, it's a foul at the end of the game. No, there's so many plays that there's contact, and by the letter of the law, it's a foul, but you don't call it with 4 seconds to play and make the game decided by that. But here's a game where you love the Bengal firepower here. We talked off air and about their playmakers, and boy, the Chargers unable to stop the junior varsity unit of the Kansas City Chiefs. What's going to happen when if Dalton doesn't throw interceptions, he starts throwing to these playmakers, right?
Yeah, and that can be Andy's problem. We've seen him struggle with that in the playoffs before. But actually, if you look at the offensive firepower of these two teams, it's very similar. You've got the run and the pass on both sides for both teams. At tight end, you have Gresham and Gates. The secondary receiver, you have Sanu and Eddie Royal. Primary receiver, you have A.G. Green and Keenan Allen, who's really becoming a heck of a player. Running backs, Giovanni Bernard and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. And for the Chargers, you have Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead. A lot of weapons on both sides of the offense here.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is like the epitome of the replacement player, but Bernard more than makes up for him. That guy, if he was playing in New York or in a more a large media city, it's amazing what a star that he would be.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Except for the one play where he ran backwards 30 yards on a 4th down. But aside from that one, he's really had a great year.
Yeah, he's great to watch, and I think that's what makes the Bengals a very big force to be reckoned with in these playoffs, is because they have the air attack and the ground attack.
And the defense as well. That's the one concern we have here, where we know the Bengals are going to get their 27. Maybe the Chargers don't, so you could, if we miss on this one, it's going to be because it's going to be 30-13. 17, and San Diego just isn't quite able to get that last score.
And I really like, and I don't think the defense will be able to slow San Diego down as much as they want to, obviously, because I think San Diego is real comfortable on the road. A lot of people talk about the Chargers going out east and, the West Coast team having the early wake-up call. Mm-hmm. They were 3-1-1 against the spread and trips back east this year.
And Scott Spreitzer is like, every week that I see him, he's like showing me all the data from Big Al, and I'm like, I keep asking for him to compartmentalize it because he's got great data that shows West Coast teams that go east do just fine against the spread. And I keep saying, well, you got to take out the late game, you got to take out the afternoon games. I only want
the morning games.
And then I came back and said, I really want to play it in September when they're used to playing at night during preseason, and then they got to play early. Yeah. I agree with Scott here. It doesn't matter at all. I'm going to have a play on this game too. Let's go ahead and rock and roll here. Let's get to your over and make that one official.
All right, the Cincinnati Bengals will host the San Diego Chargers on Sunday in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. The total in this game also 46-47, right in that neighborhood. These two teams, like Kansas City and Indianapolis, also met previously this season about 5 weeks ago, and they played to a very low score. 17-10 was the final in the Bengals' favor. So I think that's going to give both of these teams some focus this week on how can we do better in scoring more points. And I think there's going to be some emphasis put on that because obviously they're going to have to score more points to win that game. 17-10 I don't see happening today. The Chargers have a very prolific offense. Phillip Rivers having a remarkable year in the NFL. He's the third-rated passer in the entire league. As we talked about earlier before we got to the pick here, the Bengals and the Chargers both have tremendous weapons on offense at every position. Rivers does some of his best work on the road as an underdog. We saw in wins earlier this year at Kansas City and at Denver. Andy Dalton, he has struggled in the playoffs with some turnovers that could lead to Charger scores. Cincy, they have it also, and a lot of people realize Cincinnati has a great defense, which they do. They also have a top 10 offense. So I think both of these teams are powerful in every which way, and I think going off of that last game that was only 17-10, you're probably getting some line value here because the odds makers are figuring this could be a lower scoring game. But I think, again, these teams are going to focus on how can we score more points. They have so many weapons. The Chargers do well on the road. The Bengals are phenomenal at home. So I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. If you also take a look at some of the recent trends, 4 straight overs in Cincinnati's last 4 games, 5 overs in the last 5 games as a home favorite for Cincinnati. The over is 8-2 in the last 10 Charger games as a road underdog, and the over going across the last 65 games for Chargers on the road, 41-20-4 for a 67% total on the over happening in Charger road games. So we're going to go over the total here in the Chargers in Cincinnati, our free pick video on pregame.tv.
I like it. Let me go ahead and flip right on over, and I'm going to take a basic strategy play here. Whenever I see a 6.5 to 7 point favorite, I'm immediately thinking, I don't know if my favorite's going to cover, but I think they're going to win. And I think that the variance on this game is even less because I think that this Bengal team has been great all year long at home. I can't see now is the time for them to step up. They're getting a home playoff game against a foe that they're better than. I really think they're going to go ahead and win the game. Let me go ahead and make this.
You're going to make it official?
I will, yes. Cincinnati Bengals, I don't want to lay 7, but I can certainly tease the Bengals. And really a basic strategy. I heard someone mention to me, they said, I want to take the Bengals minus 300 on the money line. And I'm like, probably much better value. Shop around, find a place they're still out there that you can go ahead and bet 11 to make 10 or even 115 to make 100. That's here in Las Vegas here at the William Hill properties that still offer that. I believe the Stratosphere still has 11 to make 10. Just shop around, try to find good deals. I do think the Bengals are going to be able to win the game. They've had good teams. They've had disappointments in the playoffs. I really think they're going to put full emphasis on this. San Diego is fat, drunk, and happy for a good 24 hours after getting into the playoffs. They never expected that they were going to be in the playoffs, and now it's a situation where I'm not surprised if they're canceling vacation trips, scrambling for the holidays because they had plans, and now they actually have to go to the Queen City here to take on these Cincinnati Bengals. We are going to get some bad weather that the beach kids are not kids. kids. You can see I'm getting old. The players for San Diego won't like. So we're going to tease them. Well, you ask, well, what am I going to tease them with? I think you've got a lot of candidates with all these 2.5-point underdogs, 2-point underdogs. I think the Chiefs, taking the Chiefs from 2 up to 8, certainly makes sense. But you can go ahead and choose the teams you want and make this your anchor, your key game parlay in your teaser, as if you will, to go ahead and put the Bengals on all your teasers this week. It is my free play for the Bengal game.
Yeah, and you know, not every book will do this for you, but you could tease it with my over.
Yes, certainly.
Tease the total down, tease the Bengals down to 1, and tease the total down to around 40.
And I hate teasing totals, but I don't mind doing it when there's a correlation here, because obviously if we know that the Chargers win, I'm not even sure if that's the case. Normally I would say that, but maybe if the Chargers, I almost feel like if the Chargers win, this game has to go over. But the fact that we like the over already means we were really pretty confident we're going to cash with it.
Well, I agree with you. If the Chargers are in a position to win the game, then that means they're taking advantage of the Cincinnati defense and scoring points. So I think that makes sense as well.
Yeah, and one thing, the 41 is so much, we can tease the 46.5 down to 40.5, and people are like, oh, I want to grab the 40 or the 39. The 39 is completely dead.
Right.
Although we did have one Super Bowl that landed that 39. That was the Buffalo Giants 20-19. So there's always examples of games. But 40 is actually fairly dead, which is interesting because 20 is so live in the first half. And of course, 10-10, you go into halftime, but 20-20, you go into overtime. So 40, you do have a lot of scores, that can get there with the 4 touchdowns and the 4 field goals. But a lot of times, if it matches up at 20-20, they go into overtime. So very good. We'll root for the over. We'll root for the teaser. And we're going to be talking about the national championship game, college football. I'm not going to be doing a lot of analysis on this game for what the right side is, because I'm going to play both sides. We're going to try to fiddle in the middle. Stay with us. I'll explain how you're going to be able to win 2 units on this game on the national title game, pregame.tv.